I'd like to quote my favourite linguist, who once said about the current working conditions, she said, "Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. I'm barely getting by and it's all taking and no giving." And that was, of course, the linguist, songwriter, and businesswoman Dolly Parton, also known for having a huge personality. And I want to talk about 9 to 5. I just think 9 to 5 doesn't work anymore. I think 9 to 5 sucks. There are some industries in which 9 to 5... No, you know what? I actually disagree. I was going to say retail and food. Boo! No, we don't need 9 to 5. The invention of the internet has come along, and 9 to 5, in my personal opinion, we don't need it. There needs to be no... It's like the whole system, in my view, needs to change. I recently watched a TikTok by a young Gen Z girl who was in tears on the couch after getting her first 9 to 5 job and realizing it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. She hated it. She was crying and she was like, "How do you people do this? What is this? This is fucking bullshit." She spends 90 minutes commuting to her job and about an hour 15 getting home. And she's like, "I have no energy at the end of the day. I have no energy to cook, clean, go to the gym, socialize, or do anything." And I was like, I have never related to that so much in my life. I remember working 9 to 5 and I hated it. I hated the hours. The job, I didn't mind. I was working in retail. It was called Howard Storage World. And it was a 9 to 5 job in which I could go and I could go home and switch off. I didn't take my work home with me. I was young. I was in my 20s. I then went to university and it was my first job and it wasn't going to be my career. I hated the commute. I lived 15 minutes away. I hated the fact that on my timesheet, I had to put I was here at 9 or I left at 5. It didn't matter when I left. I was employed to be there from 9 to 5. And so sometimes you were there to, 5:30, 6 o'clock, because that was just what the job entailed. And my boss was amazing. The people were amazing. And the money was pretty good. And that's because I was still living at home. I would have absolutely lost my shit had I been renting and working that job. I couldn't have afforded to. And this is why I feel bad for this young girl, because she's crying and her clip got posted everywhere. And it was like, "Gen Z can't handle 9 to 5." And that just really pissed me off, because I think every generation always gives shit to the generation after them. Millennials give shit to Gen Z and to Alpha, and Gen X and the boomers give so much shit to millennials. And we just have this complete lack of understanding between the generations, which is perfectly normal. We shouldn't understand the generations. We have grown up in our formative years in different social, political, economic climates. So at different points of our life, things have been vastly different. Us millennials fucking constantly complain to boomers and Gen Xers that their education was free in Australia. And it's not free for us. We pay an ungodly amount for university in fees, in HECS debt, which boomers and Gen Xers didn't have to do. So when then they look at us and tell us, "Oh guys, you just need to get a job and save for a house." All fucking well and good for you to tell us that when you don't have a huge HECS debt. When you earn a certain amount of money, the government automatically takes money from you. So not only are you paying tax, you end up paying your HECS as well. So you can get a promotion. This is what happened to me. I went from earning it was so bloody low, $40,000 to earning, it was like just literally like $45,000. I got a little bit more, but it pushed me over the threshold to where HECS was coming off. And so in actual fact, when I got the promotion, I actually got a demotion because they were taking more money than I was earning, and thus it was so annoying. And I got to a point where I remember living in Melbourne trying to save for a house deposit, and in the 5 years I was there, I managed to get $10,000. And I was like, cool. By the time, I earn at least $100,000 for a house deposit, that's going to be in 50 years, and houses will be worth probably a limb by that point. So I'm never gonna own a property. Now, I was really lucky. I left that 9 to 5. I formed a very good social media profile and have been able to work for myself and earn a very good amount of money, in which I bought this apartment on my own, just me. I managed to get a loan from the bank. They gave it the tick of approval, and here I am. That's insane. At 37, my parents had already paid off their mortgage. They had made some smart investments. They had good paying jobs. And as we always say, houses and incomes were vastly different. They paid probably about $135,000 for their Sydney house, and their combined income would have been what, maybe $60,000, $70,000. This was pre-children. And you know, their interest rates were 17.5%. Sure. But again, they can pay it off quicker and they not have these 30 fucking year loans. And so as much as a lot of the boomers look down and say, it was very easy for us to buy a house, why can't you do it? We look up to them and go, it was so easy for you. What are you talking about? It's all the same thing. We all just love to whinge about each other and we don't give any grace to the generation after us. And when they question what we have gone through and why did you agree to do 9 to 5?
Well, it's just because that's what we had to do. Back in my day, that's just what we did.
Cool. Thumbs up to us. Back in our day, that's what we did. That doesn't make it acceptable in the current climate. And this is the whole reason why I think politics is so fucking outdated. Is because one, I think it's mostly, I'm going to generalize here, it's mostly men. It's mostly men that went to private school who come from good social and economic backgrounds. They get into government and then they proceed to tell us all how we should live. And it's like, oh, we didn't live in your world, okay? Where you think, education is really important, which it is. But again, you went to a school that costs, probably $1 million over the course of your schooling life. Not many people can afford that. Also, both your parents worked, you have family money, and you grew up in Kirribilli. Like, okay, and then you're going to tell us how to live? Politicians are older, normally, in a different generation, and they're trying to tell us how to live within their means and their understanding of the world. And I would hazard a guess to say 9 times out of 10, they're so fucking wrong. It's just such bullshit. And it's the same when older generations give advice to younger ones. It's outdated. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit the system. And then they complain. I just feel so sorry for this girl that I saw who was in tears. She was really funny. She was like, I'm about to have my period. I know I'm being dramatic, but how do you do it? And I agree with her completely. Do I think we could change the 9 to 5? Well, at least we should go to a 4-day work week. But also COVID taught us that we can work from home. A lot of industries can work from home. If they want to adapt, they will. But they don't want that. They want you to go into the office for some reason. But what are the other alternatives? Like, what if you want to be a lawyer, but you don't want to work 9 to 5? I don't actually think lawyers work 9 to 5. They just work constantly. A lot of industry. It's like, I feel like these days, 9 to 5 isn't really a thing. Now it's just 24/7. You're constantly on all the time. Like, my brothers both work in sales and they're constantly on. And the reason why they're constantly on is because the companies that they work for are global companies. So there's UK, there's Singapore, there's America, there's Australia. So all the different time zones means that some meetings have to happen at 2 a.m. And so that whole industry has changed. The whole world has changed now with the invention of the internet.
And back in my day, we just got to go home and switch off. We didn't have mobile phones.
We're contactable wherever we go. Times are so different, but the processes in which we live by are still the same. We still go to work, a lot of us, from 9 to 5. Not only are we expected to be in the office from 9 to 5, we're also expected to be on call from 5 to fucking 9. So, I think this young lady has a point that maybe we need to change the rules in which we operate by. But as we all know, change takes fucking years. Anyways, I'll end with another quote from one of my favourite linguists, Jolene. I'm begging you, please don't take my man. That is, of course, in relation to Jolene being the employer and her man being the employee. Don't take my man away from me. No. That's a 9 to 5. I think that's what she was talking about when she wrote that.